Hi, and welcome to SBL Biz TV. My name is Mike Cosentino. In today's episode, we're going to talk to you about masterminds. Over the years, I've had lots of experience in developing mastermind groups. Some have been just extremely successful, and others, well, let's just say they've been challenging. And I thought we're getting ready to put together another mastermind group where I'm working with some people to develop that, and thought it's a great time to share with you my experiences over the years of what works and what doesn't work, and most importantly, why you should consider using a mastermind within your business. Okay? So let's first talk about why. Well, I think the most obvious with masterminds is that you're pulling together minds. You're pulling together people that are trying to make their business more effective, more successful, and ultimately more profitable. Now, a lot of times there's confusion about masterminds. Do I need to get people from my specific industry? Should they be like clients that I'm trying to work with? What I would tell you is this, is you want people that you consider or look up to as a successful business person. Okay? That's the best way to start. Who would I want to be sitting down with on a regular interval and being able to communicate my ideas and strategies as well as them sharing theirs with me, and then both of us acting as cheerleaders and helping each other grow. So that's the most empowering thing I can tell you about it, is that ultimately is you want to choose the right people from the right industry, especially the right people, not so much on the industry. Ultimately, does it help if you're masterminding within a group that's going to be able to help accelerate your business and you do the same? Yeah, so you can take those things into consideration, but don't just think that it has to be from a specific industry that you're in. And that's the only way it can work, because it can work in a multitude of ways. The most important thing is that you're getting people that are focused on being more successful. Okay. Now let's talk about the why they work and what you can do a little more in detail. And I think the most important thing that you're going to want to look at when you're developing an actual mastermind is putting goals into place. Okay. It's really important if you're going to be the person that's spearheading this and really trying to take the time to develop it and put it together and put it in a situation where it's going to be successful long term. You have to develop some goals, okay? And I think the most important goals is, how many people do you want, okay? And that's a common question I've gotten over the years as we developed really successful masterminds, and people would come to me and ask me, what do you think is a good number, Mike? I would say that you truly don't want to start busting pretty much more than 6 to 8 on the outset. I always like to keep a mastermind at 6 or less. And that's my personal opinion. Other people might feel like they love having more than that, and that's fine. But my personal opinion is you lose a lot of the personality of the group is that when it starts getting too big. People don't speak what's on their mind. And when you can keep that group around 6 people, it really can become powerful and just very empowering once again to help you grow. So that's my suggestion there is when you're looking at a size. And quite frankly, when you're starting your first one, it's a little bit easier. I mean, you can literally start a mastermind with 2 people, okay, with the like-minded. If you ever read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, he talks about that. It's 2 like-minded people coming together with success in mind and helping each other push each other up. And so ultimately, you can start with as little as 2, okay? You're going to want to develop a plan as far as how you're going to go about it, okay? And I think a logical way to do this is you come together and you put together a time session when you're going to meet and an interval that you're going to meet, okay? But then also, who's going to moderate when? So you've set the goals, you've set the people. Now you're coming together and you're picking topics, okay? And so you want to develop these topics. And the best way to do this, the best way, is just to sit there and have someone just write them down. Come up with a list of topics and everyone's just firing them at a meeting, okay? This is what I want to learn more about. This is what I want to dig more into. This, and there's no wrong one at the first one. Nothing is wrong. Just everything's put down. Then you simulate all this information, and then you just basically send it out and you vote on it. And whatever comes up, the top number that you can make it through within a course of a year, you do it. And then what you do is just assign those topics to the members of the group. And everyone has a hot seat or a moderator, whatever title you want to get them, at specific intervals throughout the year. And they have to present on that topic. And then what happens is real simple, is basically they present on that topic, and then you do a Q&A session and you strategize on how you can take that information and implement it into your business. Okay? Now, I've had some groups that have been extremely successful over the years where we were, gotten to such a level where we actually started doing projects together and really helping each other out and developing ways in which you can push each other. So, not only does it help you learn more and empower you, but you'll be surprised at some of the relationships that you can develop over time as you're putting this together, where you're pooling your resources together and you're creating projects that you work on together. And some have become very successful, and some great memories doing some of those with some of the mastermind groups I've had over the years. So I just think that you need to start at a baseline, but it's really important to keep the energy going. Is you need to get everyone's involvement in creating those topics, and then you need to take the topics that get voted on that are the most likely to succeed over the course of that next year. Okay, which is bringing me up to the next thing. You want people that are committed. The last thing you want is somebody coming in the group and 3 months later they're done. You want somebody that when you're talking to them, like, man, I've been thinking about this, and this is something I've been wanting to do for years. I'm in. And say, okay, I want a year commitment. Are you good with that? Or a 6-month commitment, whatever. At a minimum, you want 6 months. You can't accomplish anything in a few months. It's not going to happen. But you want a commitment. You want a commitment for a long period of time. It's something that can make a difference in their life and your life. So make sure you do that. Make sure you approach it from that perspective, as I'm looking for people who want to be committed for a long period of time. And I'm once again, minimum of 6 months. One of the groups we had, we created a contract that you had to sign the contract, and there was fines and fees and everything else associated with it. But once again, that's what you want to work up towards. If you're uncomfortable doing that at first, that's fine. But as you move along, you become more and more successful at it, you'll understand the power of getting people who are committed, because if people are wasting your time, there's nothing that's more irritating you when you're spending and you got people that are committed to it that are there, okay? So it's real important. And I can't emphasize enough, when you're putting together this group from a perspective of people, don't get too caught up in who you're inviting. Just once again, you want people that are success orientated, that you see as successful or that's really striving to get to that next level when you're first starting this, okay? Because you're going to make mistakes. Like anything that you build or do, if you haven't done it before, you don't know the path, you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. And you're always going to make mistakes, but especially when you're starting something new, and that's okay. But just make sure that you get it going and you do implement it. Let's talk about what it does for your business. I think that's the most common question, and why. Well, I talked to you just a couple minutes ago about the fact that we had, some groups got so successful, we actually started creating projects and literally business platforms together where we became, in a sense, strategic partners. And so ultimately, I think that's really important that you realize that you can build some really strong relationships that can help you, okay, and can really strategize and help you develop new concepts, new ideas, new strategies for your business. And I think ideas is one of the points I want to stress. Is one mind is great, but 5 minds are the greatest. You're never going to beat everyone's thoughts, and that's the strength that Masterminds brings, is that you're pooling together all these minds and you're getting these phenomenal ideas. And what it does for you, which a lot of people miss out on, is it takes concepts that were in your head that you thought you had the formula for, but then all of a sudden you get that aha. Somebody says something and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. And that's what a mastermind will do for you. It pulls together information, helps assimilate it, and really it gives you a stronger sense of direction on what you need to do in your business to get it to the next level, if the group is working the way it should be, okay? So empowers, obviously, is another important point I'll make, is that by pooling everyone together, it's empowering you. And that's the main focus, is that you're kind of acting as cheerleaders, and you bounce things off them. So one of the points I'll make is that a good thing to do in these meetings, I talked about having the hot seat and putting that together, or the moderator over the week, and I'm going to talk to you about the duration and length of time and all that in a little bit. But another important thing to do in each meeting, I always felt, was people coming out with ideas, issues, or challenges that their business is having, and then everyone commenting on them. And as time goes on, the group gets more comfortable. People become more comfortable with sharing ideas and putting themselves out there more, is I guess what I'm getting at. And it's important that you dedicate a portion of the meeting, each meeting, to that. And that really can help people out and draws people in further as well, okay? And once again, that's why sometimes it's good to have people from different industries, because you'd be surprised the ideas that come from other industries that can be applicable to any industry, okay? So that's really important. Lastly, I would say is it improves your game. Bottom line is, if you're meeting on a regular interval, you're discussing strategies and ideas and ways to improve your business, and you exponentially take that out over a year, your game is going to be improved. You're going to make a big difference in your game, and it's going to help you out. And it's exciting, man. It's that's the thing I think is so many people miss out on out there, is that a mastermind really is an exciting, ongoing meeting that you should be looking forward to if it's done right. Okay. Now I'd like to share with you some warnings. This is from experience and doing these groups, the ones that have worked well and the ones that have not worked well. And what you want to do is, and I talked about a little bit earlier in this episode about putting together contracts. Now I know when you're first doing this, you're probably not going to be comfortable with that, but at a minimum, you want to put together some rules. One of them is tardiness. Okay, you want to have some kind of rule for tardiness that you get. And you typically always say 3 tardies and there's a fine, or 3 tardies and there's some kind of implication. A rule on missing meetings. Okay, ultimately everyone's going to miss a meeting. There's going to be an emergency or something comes up, but missing a meeting because of an appointment is not an excuse. Okay, and I want to stress that to you, because that starts to happen a lot if you don't, nip that in the bud up front. And you got to be direct about it. This is a meeting that you're into, and another appointment's not an excuse. And if the way to phrase that is if you had a $1 million sale coming up for your company, and this was that meeting that could make you that, would you cancel this? No, you wouldn't. So you have to treat it the same way, that it's, you're missing out on phenomenal opportunity for your future business if you don't make this meeting. If they don't see it that way, then you want to do the next thing, which is rooting out cancer. You don't want people that are in your group that are pulling it down. And someone has got to be the leader, and if you're going to be the one starting it, for the first year, I would expect that should be you. And I also expect that you should try to change it up from time to time. Let other people act as the leader in the group, and I think that's important because it gives you different points of view and different direction for the group, which keeps it alive and fresh, which is important, and it helps you sustain a longer period of time together working towards your common goals, which is really important. Next is duration. I think that every other week is a great way to do it. I think it shouldn't be more than an hour. I think you should give it 1 hour, and I think it should be every other week. And I have found that earlier mornings work better. Sometimes, I've heard people do them 7 a.m. It gets a little bit early for some people. It's somewhere between 7 to 10 a.m. I think is a good way to do it, where it's every other week and it's in their book, and you pick a time that's going to work for everybody in that period of time. And I think that's on the same specific day is great. Obviously, we live in a digital world, and it's hard to get people together. And a lot of times, if it's not going to be in person, if you especially got people coming from all over the country, all over the world potentially, you can easily do conference calls or webinars and use that to transact your meeting, which is really important to set that as well, how you're going to do it. And maybe if it's everyone's coming from different parts of the country, have like an annual meeting where we all get together for a weekend and make it like a power session for 2 days. Okay, so I wanted to share with you those ideas and those concepts that that I found to work successfully for myself over the years. And once again, I've done a lot of these over a 15-year period of time, and some had worked phenomenally well and were great, and some have been really bad. And in the points I made here today, I would encourage you to consider if you're going to be putting this together, because it truly can make a significant difference in your business if done right. Well, I want to thank you for today's show and watching it. I know your time's valuable, and I appreciate it. And until next time, I wish you nothing but the best of success.